Good evening, dear viewers. Tonight we are blessed to be with a guest, Honorable Dr. NSABA BUTUURO. Honorable Dr. NSABA BUTUURO, we appreciate you to have honored our invitation to come here at Smart 24, the television of a difference that doesn't only concentrate on how people want either to take leadership from one person to the other, but the television that is very much interested to see the improvement of the livelihoods of the people. Our topic of discussion tonight is how best can effective utilization of natural resources, minerals and land can be a key for East Africa community empowerment and integration. Dear viewers, my name is Dr. Joseph TINDEYBWA, an expert policy analyst. We once again would like to welcome you, Dr. NSABA BUTUURO, the former minister who have served, in different portfolios, but of the recent, the former State Minister of Information, and again, Ethics and Integrity, the MP of BUFUMBIRA East constituency. And, we are very happy to be with you tonight. Our generation, I do appreciate that age is golden and the experience always is the best teacher. Our country's economy, especially East Africa, has suffered through a lot of challenges, and the key one which remains how best we can fight against poverty. And we will continue from that, but kindly allow me to welcome you, sir, and you greet the viewers.
Absolutely. First of all, I must express gratitude that you thought you should invite me here, and I do welcome this degree of interaction on key issues that have great potential to change lives of our people. So I do appreciate and thank you for inviting me. Secondly, I want to commend you, commend this station.
Smart 24.
Smart and Fall.
Yes.
You are doing something which no other media house is doing. I can tell you, as you may have known, I was Minister for Information and Broadcasting for quite some time. I know the ins and outs of our media houses. It's very sad to note that many of them concentrate their energies on things that have little to do with the transformation of this country. It's politics, it's differences politicians have, and so on and so forth, but nothing to do with what will transform our nation. It's regrettable. Something must happen. Now you and your colleagues have done this. I want to commend you and pray, in fact, that the government will take up this matter, engage the media, and help them to know that there is another way of doing what they are doing. Currently, they are not serving the country in the best way possible.
Thank you so much. Welcome you not only in Kampala, but from the great hills of Kigezi, Bufumbira.
In Kisoro district. That should be mentioned.
That should be mentioned.
Absolutely.
And I know your people who are somewhere viewing you from within this city are very happy because you have contributed a lot to this country as a long-serving member of parliament, and we believe it's not by mistake for you to be here. Our topic remains how best can effective utilization of natural resources, and we are looking at minerals among others, and land, the ecosystem. We also are looking at the number of minerals in Uganda and East Africa generally, gold, copper. We look at iron ore in Kisoro district and Kabale, Rwanda, which your neighbor.
It's not only iron ore, we have tin, we have wolfram, we have gold.
Yes, sir.
My God.
Yes, sir.
We have oil.
Thank you.
No one is talking about it yet.
Yes,
but that belt, right from Albertine down to Kisoro and beyond, it's amazing. And don't forget the tourism. Potential, not potential, actually. 81%.
81%, yes, sir.
Of Uganda's revenue in tourism.
Yes, sir.
Is from Kisoro
It's from
district.
Kisoro district. So that shows us that we cannot live out without mentioning natural resources, and human beings need to know the potential around them that can turn around the bad luck to good luck. And as a country, I draw this from the historical perspective in my brief introduction to remind viewers that what whom we refer as colonialists, those who governed us, those who refer as foreigners, up to date that are in one or the other partners in development, they crossed all the way and came over here in Africa and Uganda, and one of the reasons was to look for the best natural resources. Dear viewers, some countries are struggling. They are suffering with to see how they can make a life living, especially for looking at how they are surrounded with deserts. Others, we cannot access the good air condition which we have that is natural. And that's why our colleagues from the east and from the west, the western countries, they just fly here to Kampala, they continue to Kisoro because they enjoy that free air, the good one, in those hills. And we need to appreciate the existence of such resources. We are not forgetting land. Around 12 million square mile kilometers in Uganda, they are not put under cultivation. I got this research of 2007 by Tolin because of there's both absentee, landlord, and others who are not in a position to utilize land, just land is there. And I believe the viewers, you are my witness, to know that Uganda, we have not utilized the best what we have. And maybe it may be because of the policies, we look at that. At a certain point, as we know the land law, we know that yes, citizens of Uganda can own land. But in other countries, before I go to the general perspective of natural resources looking at land, they have identified some zones which are for cultivation. Some of us, we have viewed some tractors under serious business, cultivating wider, massive agricultural production. You go to Netherlands, you go to some of these other countries, Singapore, what we call, of course, by use of tractors, you know, and the agricultural mechanization, part of the reason why it has become successful in other countries, it is because of valuing the need to utilize natural resources. Again, before you take on, I have come to a study by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And their concentration was referring to natural resources. Incidentally, this study was carried out pointing out the key points for reformers in Eastern Europe and again the Caucasus of Central Asia. They continue to appreciate that there is the economic significance in natural resources. And again, as I conclude my brief introduction or preamble of our discussion, we find that the natural resources, they are natural capital out of which other forms of capital are made. Number two, they contribute towards fiscal revenue, income, and poverty reduction. And again, we'll note sectors related to natural resources use, provide jobs, and are often the basis of livelihoods in poorer communities. Finally, to mention, in our preamble, as viewers, you follow attentively this discussion, we again find out that natural resources, both renewable and non-renewable, and ecosystem services are part of the real wealth of nations. The real wealth of Uganda, the real wealth of East Africa. And I was discussing with you before we come over here, and I said, while we are talking about East African Federation, East African economic and political integration, there must be a deliberate move to empower the individual capacities of our citizens, both at the individual level and at the family level, then the society. By the time we talk of integration, then we know how best we can use our capacities to develop using our existing natural resources. Honorable, it is a pleasure to be with you tonight, and it happens to be, not by accident, that you hold a doctorate of philosophy in development administration. it's a pleasure to benefit from all that rich knowledge that you will share with the public.
I appreciate you, and I must point out that in discussing this very vital subject, we need to take into account different dynamics that impact on our nation, our people, our leaders, and make life very, very difficult, and unable to really benefit from resources God has given this nation and other nations in Africa. I was sharing with you a short while ago that our brothers and sisters from Europe and the Americas have said they will go to war should Africa ever deny them access to resources. The resources we have are the ones that have put Europe to where she is. Our resources. What you see we get back in grants, in a little bit of aid here and there, first of all, it isn't charity, really. It is those friends and sisters, brothers who want us to stay alive, but not able to go beyond where we are now. It is in their interest that we don't go beyond where we are. We remain dependent. Yes, resources we have, but allow them to take those resources away, and then out of what they do with them, give us a portion of what we really truly deserve. So the challenge we face as a nation, as a people, is that immense force that is operating against us, and our efforts aren't translating into the kind of changes we want to see, the living standards of our people. We've not been able to make a breakthrough because of that very powerful force whose determination is that Africa, Uganda, should stay where they are, should be allowed to survive, but not be able to have the capacity to use resources God has given us. That's a challenge number one, which we must recognize that, yes, we have friends, but these friends want us to stay somewhere. They don't want us to step up, or else we use resources which they also need.
Is it the reason why the utilization of oil, petroleum, for around 20 years, and the good thing you've been in parliament, but yet many citizens, we Ugandans specifically, we're asking what has happened? Is it again the question of those who took the contract, they are not able to utilize our oil the way we should utilize? What might have happened that is related with the policy implementation of such?
Oh, well, what has happened again, the dynamics that say, look, you guys, yes, you have these resources, we don't have them, but we want to control them. And so negotiations are arduous, they take long, they're very complicated, and the other side, of course, is able to say, yes, this far you can go. We should have broken into the ranks of oil-producing nations long ago, but those interests, particularly external interests, haven't allowed us to make that tremendous move. But really, it's a challenge that we Africans must accept. We cannot go like this. And threats, of course, intimidation, bribes, all those lead some of our leaders to become timid, not desirous to see innovations, change, and so on. And so they are content to let things happen go on the way they are now. So that's number one. The issue of external determination to ensure that we, much as we have all these resources that they don't have, not a fraction. They don't have resources we do.
The fertile land,
absolutely
the minerals,
incredible. The climate, the people, the incredible resources God has given us, but which resources are not benefiting us. And so that's really, look at Japan. Japan doesn't have a fraction of the resources we have. South Korea, but these are supremely rich on partly, of course, the resources, our resources. So that's a challenge that Africa has to answer, particularly our leaders. The other one, of course, is our propensity to fight one another.
Wars, civil wars, and all
usually propelled again from outside. because you've got to keep these guys busy fighting, eating up themselves. I don't know whether you have grasshoppers where you come from. If you do, they are a delicacy, by the way, if you don't know. But when you, after you've caught them, ready for eating, roasting and then eating, you keep them in a basket or container, and of course time will come when you'll fry them and eat them. Now what they do when they are in that container, instead of sitting down to say, look, how do we get out of this basket before they eat us up, they are busy biting each other. So, and Africans, that's how we are. We are content to engage in wars that are tribal, religious, political, but really that have nothing to do with our economic well-being. That's where we concentrate our energies. And so that's, in fact, why I commend your station here. You are doing the unthinkable. That as a media house, you are encouraging the nation to liberate itself and say, look, by the way, we can do better than this. We can do better than being content with the little we are given by our friends. We have what it takes, and so this is real liberation. In understanding really where we are, therefore, there are external powerful interests that don't want us to say anything that disrupts their domination. They are interested in dominating us, they are interested in exploiting us, they are interested in oppressing us, they are interested in, of course, but humanely, by the way. You exploit, but humanely. You know, give a little bit of aid, give a little bit of grants. That's humane, keeping us very content and unaware that really the foundations of our own existence is being eaten away. But we are busy, I'm busy looking at you, this one is not mine, we've got to fight. That's where we are, and it's a disastrous state of affairs. So thank you for this topic, thank you for this discussion, and I pray you continue.
We are continuing with our discussion, dear viewers, and the next kind of submission which the Honorable Dr. NSABA BUTUURO, and an expert in development administration with experience in governance for some years, as far as I was interacting with him, who served under the late Amin's government or regime, and also Bote 1 or 2, then as well the NRM government. And we have a lot that we are desiring to hear from you, because part of our young generation may not know what brought us where we are. And there is always a need to see how we can cut off from what we are talking about as these chains and bondage of poverty. Our children, especially the young daughters and sons of Uganda, they are moving all the way from here to some other countries in Asia to look for jobs. And the pertinent solution through this television and our discussion, as we engage with you who are experts and as well governance stakeholders, we look at what the government also maybe has in a plan or is deliberately intending to do, so that we no longer go on the position of either whether I call it lamenting or indeed critically analyzing the influence of the external forces. As we draw towards now the second shift of our discussion, we want to look also our initiatives. The 20 years when you're in parliament, because as we know, policies cannot be implemented or cannot come up when the government also doesn't take a deliberate move to say, this is what we are going to do. And beyond only Uganda, because remember I brought this discussion in the perspective of East Africa. Here is a good document that I present just briefly in 1 minute. That East Africa Community Natural Resource Management, they came up with projects, natural resource management. And for 3 years, they were looking at how to strengthen East Africa community evidence-based decision-making, regulating technical coordination of strategic approaches, and capacity building in conservation and management of transboundary natural resources. I will not go to other details, but I have brought up that one overall objective. Very soon, the Democratic Republic of Congo is, I just watched in the morning, they are about to sign an agreement to join with us. Yeah. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, there is a benefit of gold. Some 10 years ago, as we again come back to analytically review what exactly has happened and what we intend to do, there were crashes of some of our very, forces which were trying to bring security in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And we heard of, and it is known very well, how the clash between the UPDF and the armies of Rwanda were of a challenge. How best can we be able to improve on some of these indifferences on trans-border so that our trading, even in these natural resources, will be free, out of insecurity, and again we move forward. Yes.
Permit me to take you a little bit back. You mentioned, you talked about youth or young people.
Yeah, exactly.
And my God, we have a crisis in the making. The youth today aren't sufficiently prepared to take over when it is their time. Instead, their clarion call is the old ones get out of the way and we too want to come in. In other words, somebody somewhere has created a crisis between these two groups, the old and the young. The young want the old ones to get out of the way quickly. The old ones are saying, wait a minute, you haven't yet got what it takes to move these.
They are still saving their future.
That's right.
Yes.
But somebody is fueling tension between these two groups. So that again, we expend the energy we have, the time we have, into fighting one another while what really we should be doing isn't being done. So that is a crisis, that the young are growing up discontent, they are not prepared, they don't have the skills, they don't have the knowledge, they are still searching for it, they still have a way to go. And they forget, by the way, that God willing, tomorrow they will be the older ones and the younger ones will be there. In other words, the creation of tension between these two sides is intended to keep us down, disorganized, unable to put our minds on what really the country needs to be able to move forward.
Is there a solution for that tension?
The solution, first of all, is awareness. It's awareness by both sides that, look, somebody is tricking us, that we should be fighting one another while they are taking away our resources. Keep us unstable, keep us unfocused, and I mean, while resources are being taken away.
Yes,
so that's number one, the awareness by both sides that really the enemy is not ourselves, it is someone else somewhere. So we need to do a lot of soul searching as to how the youth should be helped to be patient. Meanwhile, of course, they are gathering, they are garnering knowledge, skills, they're getting ready. And obviously, government in its present form should also intensify efforts to educate the young people, help them know, support them with skills, support them with opportunities when time comes, and instead of leaving things the way they are. I just thought I should mention the issue of youth because it's a potential crisis that will certainly eat up all of us, including themselves.
But they're believing that their time is now, and some of them have attended education, and the older are not giving way. Yes. In 2 minutes, I pose this question. That was a good submission, but now, in 2 minutes, as I come back to you, I have a fear that part of the blame, we should take it here in Uganda, the way we use the natural resources. We, the government, we the citizens and the government, has accepted even the environmental degradation. Some of the factories are being constructed in wetlands. And that will finally affect the other good free air in where? In Kisoro. What do you think that you should advise the government to do better?
Well, first of all, you are absolutely right. We should not lay the blame on our friends from outside the country alone. There are challenges within. And the power of greed is eating up those who should be able to say, wait a minute, we can do better as a country. And so the propensity to want to possess, to amass so much wealth at the expense of others is quite telling, and it's a problem. And what it does when you are invaded by that spirit of greed is that you amass, but forget the broad picture. That that wealth you are amassing and at the expense of other people, one day that may backfire on you. And clearly you have a situation of instability, insecurity, and disunity. In other words, my appeal, especially those who have become slaves to this satanic, really, spirit of greed, of money-mindedness, should stop that nonsense, because it is self-defeating. And how I pray that government comes out and punitively deal with. Oh yes, we are not there yet.
We should go to that.
And it's encouraging everyone else to say, well, so and so has got away with it, I can also do the same. And then the young ones are saying, you see, we are missing out on this cake. They should get out and we also do the same. They are not saying they will come out to do any better. They also want to come out and say we have access to. It's a sad situation. So in other words, therefore, much as we have those issues from outsiders who really want to exploit us, dominate us, you know, oppress us, and the intention is to keep us divided while they are taking away our resources, we should also look at the internal dynamics that are enslaving us and really rendering us a laughable race, which we should not be.
Thank you so much, Honorable, our expert of development and administration, a senior citizen of this country. And you have pointed out on some of the part of the root cause for what we are suffering to be the external factors. But in the next few minutes, as we go for the second hour, we will be able to have a soul-searching moment to also deal with the situation that we face as a country, which are created by us and which must be solved by us. Thank you, dear viewers. Keep tuned until we meet again in the second few minutes of our session. Yeah, keep on with Smart 24 TV, the best TV you can get information. Thank you.